This is Steve from Boxing UK. Absolutely delighted to be joined by Fabio Wardley. Fresh from another win in the bubble, Fabio?
Indeed. Good times.
2020, you've been one of the few boxers that's had a very successful year. How's it been?
Yeah, I've been very, very fortunate, very lucky. Not just to have obviously a successful year, but just to box in just on its own. Like, I know so many fighters that haven't boxed for at least a year and probably won't box for still another 6 months or so to go. So it just makes me thankful, really, and I'm glad to be progressing and being on big shows and being on Sky and on TV and whatever else is. It's all good things. I'm really, really fortunate and really lucky, and thankfully I've taken advantage of the opportunities that have been thrown my way.
You certainly have. Do you think 2 knockouts will raise your profile higher than it would have done in a normal boxing year, Fabio?
Yeah, because I think just in general, more because of everything going on in the world, there's more eyes on the show. Because there's less shows, because what there would have been overall. So when the shows do come up, there's more eyes on them, more people paying attention, because there's less boxers active right now, which means the spot for attention is wider. You can get more people on you. So yeah, I think I'm getting a bit more kind of attention towards me off just fighting in general, and obviously the fashion I'm finishing the fights in.
Can I ask you about the bubbles? Because you've done 2 now.
You can.
What's life like in there, in reality? And any stories?
Yeah, it's probably 1 or 2. But the bubble was actually really good fun. Like, it is actually, especially for me, who like, I get on with everyone. Like, I get on with everyone, and I mean that in terms of like all the people that are Sky that are in the bubble, all the people that are part of Matchroom that are in the bubble, and I've been fortunate enough to be on shows as well where either the fighters or their coaches or whatever are people I get on well with as well. So it's quite good to be just like, you just get to chill out, really, with like have normal time with just these people. You sit down and have lunch, like in around each other, see each other's tables, talk, catch up, share stories, like you were saying, about different experiences, different bits in boxing. You get to just sit and pick each other's brains. And whereas before, like, a lot of interactions with people in boxing is quite fleeting, because you're on your way to go do an interview or do this or do that, or got to get to the weigh-in, got to get to there. Whereas when you're in the bubble, you're just constantly around each other, and there's a lot of in-between downtime where you're not needed, you don't need to do anything, all you're doing is chilling and just kind of relaxing. So you get to do all that with everyone. Fight camp was great, it was good. It was the first one, so it had its flaws to it, like things that weren't so great about it. But second time around, that the bubble that I just left was brilliant. They absolutely smashed it out of the park. Like, there was a games room, so there was like table tennis, darts, like table football, there was a cinema, a couple of PlayStations with some FIFAs, so like got to set up a couple of FIFA rivalries and that, got some games and that going. So it was just overall just a good vibe and a good time, really.
Good man. Obviously we have to start talking about the fight. One question I haven't heard you being asked yet. Did you see his ring walk, Fabio? What was all that about?
I couldn't miss it, because so how it goes is obviously he does his ring walk first, and then I'm stood at the bottom of the ramp down the steps while he's doing his ring walk. So I'm there, I'm watching the whole thing. So I had to stand there and wait for the whole thing. Bearing in mind, I had to warm up to get ready and everything, and then I'm stood waiting for him for 5 minutes, and I'm cold again. It's like, what's going on here? And it seemed like never ending as well. It seemed like 30 seconds went by. Okay, he'll run in the ring now. He'll get it over with. Another minute goes by. Okay, surely he'll get in the ring now. And then he gets all the way to literally in front of the ropes, and I'm like, okay, surely he's now about to get in. And then still milks like another minute there as well. And I was just like, what is going on?
Were you giving it verbals at the bottom of the steps?
Yeah, I was. And not like, all the like the showrunners, time runner people are behind me, and I'm going, what's like, someone like go get him, push him. What is he doing? Like, what's going on here? Let's move the show along, surely. And just, mate, it's bizarre, absolutely bizarre.
Yeah, I think even the commentators had, they found it funny at first, Fabio. I don't know if you watched it back, but the commentators thought it was funny at first. But I think even by the end, they'd had enough.
Yeah, I think so. I think it did get to that point where, oh, okay, it's a bit long. It's funny. Ha 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 ha. Okay, now, like, am I going to just get in, mate? Like, crack on. We've got stuff to do.
And the fight itself, I don't think anyone's timed it, but probably quicker than his ring walk, Fabio.
Yeah, probably. That's probably some sort of record in itself. Yeah, quite a quick one to get through.
The question everybody's asking you is about the knockout.
Yeah.
But before that, did he hurt you, Fabio? Because it looked like he caught you with one shot.
No, he didn't hurt me. If anything, he woke me up. I wasn't particularly going back to, like, reviewing it in my head and whatever else. I wasn't particularly happy with that first round. I do start my rounds not particularly slow, but I take my time with them because I use that to soak in information. And I started a lot slower than I wanted to. I got caught a few times, just with some shots and stuff. They didn't buzz me. I was perfectly fine. It was just they woke me up, and then I switched on a bit, and I was like, okay, hang on, no, we need to do this. Like you see from the first round, and then when I come out in the second round, I'm almost like a different fighter. My demeanor is different. The way I am is different. The shots are different. It just woke me up, was all.
Second round. A, have you watched the fight back? And B, have you seen the online comments that was made about the knockout?
Yeah, I've watched the fight back. I've watched it back a couple of times, and I've seen the knockout back. I know that there's a lot of speculation over if he just like went with it and just maybe threw it, dived, whatever people are saying and stuff. And ultimately, I was in the ring and I saw him, and I think the issue comes is because from when you see people like get knocked out and stuff, you expect it to be from the last punch that hit. Where in that combination or that sequence of punches, it wasn't. Like the last one was just the last one to topple the domino kind of thing. There was a strong stiff jab which wobbled him at first, and if you watch the clip, you see his leg go a bit, you see his hands go a bit, and you see that kind of that fade in him. And then I followed that with then a feint to draw his gloves in front of his face, then a left hook around the side to his head or his temple or whatever, and you see his head shake and go the other way. And then it doesn't land, the right hand doesn't land completely clean, but it's powerful enough and clubbing enough to put him to the floor, where if everything's already scrambled in your brain and just that last one pushes you over, you're going to go.
Did the accusations of a dive, does that frustrate you or does that even annoy you, Fabio? Because, you know, from your point of view, you've hit him with the jab, you've wobbled him, you've finished it off with the right hand, and then almost instantaneously the reaction was, oh, Lartey took a dive. When you've seen that back, does that annoy you?
No, not really. What can I do? I'm not fussed. I'm there, ultimately, like I said in my other interviews afterwards, I'm there to do my job. I'm there to turn up, win my fights, get them out of there and go home. And I did that. Whether I did it to someone's standard that they think was good enough or they agree with, I could not care less. I did what I needed to do. And ultimately, that's all I can do. Whether you agree with how it went or not, that's your own issue and your own problem. That has absolutely nothing to do with me.
Good man. Did you get to see him afterwards? Because he was in some distress in there, which is why on a personal level, we didn't think it was in any way, shape or form a dive. Because that would be some BAFTA-nominated award for that distress.
He'd been up there with some of the best, wouldn't he? Denzel Washington, eat your heart out kind of thing. But no, I did. I saw him after. I went to his change room after I'd done all my bits and my interviews and stuff. And he'd had quite a bit of time, so he was a lot more aware then and that. And we just had a little exchange of like conversation, a little kind of mutual respect thing and that. And he was fine. He was all good. So he recovered fine. It was just the initial shock of the moment, I think.
Good man. Does it, again, another thing, the comparisons are obviously made with how long Nathan Gorman took, how long Daniel Dubois took. I think I've already seen you say that you don't pay any attention to those comparisons, but the nature of boxing, people will. Do you think that helps or hinders?
Now that I've got him out sooner, I definitely I listen to those comparisons now, and I think it makes me better than all of them. No, it's still the same to me. It's still the same. It doesn't matter. I think I take from that what it is. Like I said, all that fight proves is that I have single punch knockout power, and it proves that I beat Richard Lartey. I can beat, or I have beat Richard Lartey in 2 rounds. That's it. It doesn't mean that I'm better than him or he's worse than him or whatever else, because ultimately boxing's not that cut and dry. It's not that simple. It doesn't mean that. It's about styles. Styles make fights, and it's about those. So it's just my style was just clearly completely wrong for him. That's all.
And what's next, mate? January the 30th, I gather.
Yeah. So obviously, as long as that that date stays solid, which there's no reason it shouldn't. But like I say, you never know what's going to go on these days. But yeah, that's the date, January 30th. Obviously, White Povetkin 2 on the undercard of that bill. And we're just going to try and figure out, again, another good, challenging, testing opponent. Someone who's going to give it to me, someone who's going to give me something to work with in terms of different problems to work out and really put it on me. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. And that's what hopefully me and the team are going to be able to put together. Good,
man. Can I chuck some names at you?
You can indeed.
Not all entirely serious, Fabio. Just to mix it up a bit.
No worries.
David Adelaide.
No, too soon. Right. What's the point? There's no benefit in it for me. He gets a shot at me or the English title, and what do I get? I get to beat a 2-0, 3-0 prospect and get minimal credit for it.
Yeah. Lucas Browne?
Possible. Definitely a possible. He's been going again a bit on social media saying he's training, he can do this and that. And I think even after him pulling out, that pissed me off a bit. So he's definitely one of the front runners.
Nathan Gorman?
Yeah, but I think that one will be saved. I think that Nathan Gorman looks like the most likely option for the British title, or what I want to aim for. And he wants to, he's going to want to have another fight or two back as well. At his own admittance, he wasn't in his best in his Richard Lartey fight. He wants to trim off a few more pounds and whatever else. So let him do that, let him build through, and then me and him can have a good fight later in the year.
Come on, and Alan Babicham?
Nah, never. Babicham is like a brother to me. He's my guy. So we're all in the same team, same stable. All we want to do is look out for each other and see each other do as well as possible. So unfortunately, never.
Good,
we'll stick to sparring wars anyways. That's what I'll stick to.
What do you make of Alan? I know you're in the same team and under the same management, but what do you actually make of his style? Because it's almost chalk and cheese with the way that you fight.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? We're completely different, but for every question about him or whatever's been said, ultimately he's effective. He does, and I think a lot of people underestimate how actually relenting, just uncomfortable his style is until you're in the ring with him. Until he is just constantly looping those hooks at you, and you can't find a gap, you can't find a space to breathe, and your head's scrambling because you're trying to figure a way out or whatever else, and he's just not letting you go. And for now, he's doing exactly what he needs to do. He's getting people out of there. He's entertaining. He's building a massive fan base with that savage army that he has.
Yeah.
He's on all fronts. He's absolutely smashing it. So I'm proud of him, man. I'm loving watching it from the sides as much as everyone else.
Good, man. Your ambitions for 2021, Fabio? I know you've said the British title. Is that ultimately what you would like to be sitting as this time next year?
Yeah, by this time next year, I think I want another fight or two at just a decent competitive level. Still got to learn, still got to build, still got to move forward and progress and work on myself. But ultimately, I want that to culminate in getting another bit of silverware. So the British title looks like obviously the most obvious option. And like I said previously, Nathan looks like the most obvious kind of opponent for that, just because we're on a similar trajectories. Obviously, we was building towards me and Dave. Dave retired, so aside from Nathan, I don't really see anyone else who's in that kind of region or worth.
Any other ambitions, such as a fight in Ipswich?
Yeah, but things like that I kind of have to take with a pinch of salt because of with everything going on in the world at the moment. It's just so hard to plan and know where you're going to be and what you're going to be able to do and all of that. So it's going to be difficult, but definitely that's something I've spoken about for a long time. Something I do want to do. Back when the next gen shows were a thing with Matchroom, that was something I wanted to do. But it doesn't seem particularly likely right now, just because of obviously everything going on in the world. But at some point, most definitely, I want to bring it home.
Fingers crossed. Like I said at the start of the interview, you've certainly got people's attention. You've stopped your last 9, haven't you?
Yes, I've stopped everyone bar my debut. It was an awkward, tough, and tricky southpaw. But since then, I've grown, I've learned, I've matured. I learned to pace myself in. I say pace myself, but I've learned to take time to figure out opponents as opposed to just trying to absolutely crash through them. And I seem to be doing all right so far.
Magic. Can I end with 3 predictions?
Of course.
Obviously, this weekend we've got Dubois, Joyce. How do you see that one going?
I think Joyce on points.
That's a brave prediction. That it'll go the 12 rounds.
Yeah, I know. I do, but that's what I think. I think there'll be some knockdowns and whatever else. But by the end of it, I think Joyce on points.
Tyson Jones, a prediction, and your personal thoughts on that fight as well, Fabio?
Again, I think Jones on points. I think Tyson he'll try and be the Tyson of old. And I think he'll find out very, very quickly that his body can't keep up with where his head may still think he's at. Whereas with Jones, where he'll be more inclined to stick to his boxing, that will favour more into being an older man doing that. But overall, I just think it's good. It's great. Like, don't get me wrong. I know people don't like to see things like that, and a lot of the boxing community sometimes get a bit sour when the old greats kind of come back and do things like that. They almost think it's like a money grab or whatever else. But ultimately, especially for someone like me who was very young, and at the point I wasn't that even interested in boxing when they were in their like primes and when the big fights and stuff were going on, I missed all of that. So it's nice for someone like me to be able to be, even it's not the same hype, they're not the same men and everything else, I'm still part of it. I still get to see that second time around of watching them live and fight. So I'm interested for it. I'm buzzing for it. They're two of my favourite boxers, and I get to see them in the ring with each other. So I don't know what there is to grumble at with it, really. Good
man. Absolutely no point asking you about why Povetkin too, so we'll stick with Joshua Pulev.
Yeah. Again, I think Joshua overall, I think he'll just outbox him. He's the bigger man, the longer man. I think he'll just box him, wear him through, and then 7-8 rounds, just then big bombs will start to land, gaps will start to open up. Pulev will start to weather, and Josh will finish him off.
Good man. Fabio, just remains to congratulate on a brilliant 2020.
Thank you very much. It's been a good year.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful festive period, and we'll see you in January, mate.
Definitely, mate. You too. You have a great time.
All right, you take care. Thanks for your time, Fabio Wardley.
No worries, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you.